Hey everyone, this is Ill Factor from beatacademy.com, and in this video, I'm going to share with you some music production tips while recreating the beat in 21 Pilots' My Blood. So let's dive right in. So I'm going to start by focusing my attention on the drums. So here in Ableton Live, I've got a drum rack loaded up with just a couple samples. I've got using the snare drum here from my Beat Academy sample pack, which is loaded with construction kits, loops, one-shots, transition effects, and you could use this on your projects today just by simply clicking the link below in the description box and download this sample pack. It's yours absolutely free. So with these samples in place, let's go ahead and take a look at the actual pattern. So it's pretty straightforward. Now let's go ahead and add a little bit of effect processing to matching the grit that we hear on the reference record. So I'm going to start off with using a drum bus. Directly drag right on top of that and just crank some of the drive, and let's just mess around with it, see what we get. Maybe a little bit more crunch. This is without it. So now I'm going to do a little bit of EQing to beef up the low end and add some crispiness to the high end. So I'm going to use the Pultec EQ from Universal Audio. It's one of my favorite EQs to use. Simple, straightforward, but it just adds the right type of tone to what you're boosting and what you're taking away. So let's go and do around about 30 for the low frequency and give it a nice boost. And then I'm going to go a little bit high end here and just boost that. Cool. And just broaden up the cue a little bit. So that's cool. I'm going to leave that as my foreground beat. That's just something that I keep in my mind. That's just how I look at it. It's the kick and the snare and the hi-hat are the main foreground. I'm going to layer it with an acoustic drum kit. And this will create a lot of that nuance that's captured in a lot of the 21 Pilots. A lot of that's just live drums. So you've got room mics, you've got overhead mics. So I want to emulate that by using a third-party plugin to add that nuance in there. So I'm going to head over to my plugins folder and look for BFD2. Just simply click and drag that in there. And I'm very aware that BFD3 has been out for quite some time. I've never upgraded. I just really like using BFD2 and just wasn't broke, so I never had to fix it. So load kit, and I will load a custom kit that I've put together. Now what's cool about this is, like I said, the overheads, the room, the ambient mics, and things like that. So I'll just solo the direct miking for now, and I'm going to copy the drum pattern that we've created in our drum rack just by holding the Option key, click, and drag right over. So let's go ahead and solo this track and play this pattern. Ah yes, the endless parade of cymbals. Well, that's because this pattern is triggering notes that don't really correspond with the same sounds that we were using on the drum rack. So what I need to do is just get the kick pattern that we see here and the snare pattern, which would be here, and just position them in the right place. So let's click this whole row and let's move that down to C1. And then I'm going to open this up so that that open hi-hat can open up and close right at this section here. Cool. Now let's just use the overhead mic along with the direct miking. Just the overhead and the direct for now. And then we're going to dirty this up by adding some overdrive and some compression. So I'm going to put some overdrive just from Ableton Live directly right onto the BFD2. And some compression here. really exaggerating that compression, and then a saturator right on top of that to just give it a little bit more drive and crunch. Now, once I've added that processing, the overheads are really noticeable, so I might have to bring them down. And let's see how that matches with our other drums. So I'm going to mute my kick on the acoustic drum kit and just let the hi-hats and the snare drum play through. So I really like the nuance and the ambience of the acoustic drum hi-hats because without them, the regular hi-hat in the foreground just sounds a little bit too stiff. So having these now really helps it feel like an acoustic drum kit because of the room mic and the overheads and, well, in this case, just the overhead miking. And now I'm going to group both the acoustic drum kit and our drum rack together. So I'm going to highlight both tracks and hit Command G, and that'll put them together in one group. And now we're going to process both of those tracks together with an overdrive. So I'm going to place the overdrive directly onto that, and let's see what that does. This is without it. Now this is with it. So a little bit more grit, and that's cool. And now let's focus our attention on the bass. So for this, I'm going to head over to IK Multimedia's Moto Bass. Amazing plugin. Not only could you change the actual model of the bass that you're going to be using, but you can position where you're going to be playing on the strings, the actual bridge pickup, and so many details. The different play style. Is it going to be with pick, finger, slap, the amount of muting? And so there's all these little nuances that go into getting an authentic performance. Now, obviously, nothing is ever going to compare to actually having a real bass player there. But if you don't have one, this is probably the best thing. So over here in the control, a lot of, also the nuances in the performance, such as like sliding from one note to the next, can be assigned to different parameters on your MIDI controller. So I have the slide switched to my pitch wheel. So as I'm actually playing, I can use my pitch bend to slide from one note to the next, just as a actual bass player would do. And that's what we hear in the reference. So let me go ahead and play the bass line using this Devil. It's almost like a Stingray bass. So the slide is happening because I've got the pitch bend happening as well. So I'm using my pitch wheel to control the different slides. So you can see the automation here. And it sounds just so good, as opposed to just, gliding or portamento a regular bass sample. So I really like that. And here in the strings, I've changed them from the new strings that come with when you load this preset over to old, because they just sounded much better. And then over here in the amp, what I'm doing is I have this amp here, and we just get a little bit of the amp and some of the DI, the direct signal going through as well. Now, the processing is going to be really special for this bass to kind of mirror what we're hearing on the actual record. So let's start by using Ableton Live's pedal. You can use any distortion pedal or any pedal plugin that you might have in your DAW. All the principles that I'm sharing with you can be applied in any DAW you're currently using. So let's head over to the pedal plugin and let's go over to distort and bring up the gain and just start messing around with it till we get in the taste that we like. I'm going to turn the sub on so that the low end frequency can still be present. Cool. And now let's go ahead and use a little bit multi-band dynamic compression using the over-the-top preset here in Ableton Live. I'm just going to go and just give a little bit. What this is going to do is just allow the top end of that bass to just come out a little bit more. Okay, and now after that, what gives it that nice, cool, wide depth of that sound that we hear in the bass in My Blood is some chorus. So I'm going to click, drag, and put some chorus on there. And then we can shape the overall tone with an EQ. So just boost a little bit more of the high end over here. Okay, and now what we can also do is just some compression so that we're getting a good overall balanced signal, but I'll put the compression before the chorus. So that's just going to give that a nice performance. Now, let's go ahead and duplicate this bass track, but without all the processing. Let's just go ahead and bypass this so we get the bass direct. And inside the moto bass, I'm going to go to the amp and effects. I'm going to make sure that I'm getting no amp and just a direct signal. And then we'll go ahead and layer these two together. See what it sounds like with the drums. And now let's focus our attention on the chords we hear in the intro, verse, and also in the chorus section of the song. So for this, I'm going to use Ableton Live's wavetable, but you could use any two oscillator synth that you might have in your DAW. So listening to the chords, they're pretty chill and mellow. They're not going to be bright, so I'm probably going to stay away from using a sawtooth or a square waveform. So let's start with just using a sine wave, and I'll play the chords. And you can see that if I switch over to the saw, it's a lot brighter. So let's stay over here in the sine wave, and we'll use our filter frequency cutoff to just take away all the high end. And raise the resonance up just a little bit. Now I'm going to add some filter drive to this. And now we can go over here to the unison and turn shimmer on. I'm also going to turn the second oscillator on, but this one's going to be a whole octave higher. So I'll go over here to the semitones and hit 12. Now I want the tone to play a bit longer after the notes have been played. So let's raise the release a little bit more. Cool. Now let's go and add some reverb to this. So I'm going to click audio effects, click and drag, sing reverb, and just balance between the dry and wet signal. Now, there's some pulsing happening to the actual sound as well. So for that, we're going to use an auto filter. I'm going to click the auto filter, drag that over the reverb, and I'm going to set this to a high pass. So just kind of only letting the highs pass, right? But we're going to add some movement. We're going to add the LFO here in the auto filter to just create some of that pulsing moving that we hear in the pads. So let's set it to sync every quarter note. And determining on how much of the amount you crank up will determine how strong each of those pulses will be. And we can go ahead and move the phase around. So it feels as if it's auto panning as opposed to just going in and out. I'm also going to go and turn on the sub oscillator so we get a little bit more of the low end. Let's see what that sounds like. Well, hey, I hope this video has been helpful for you in any way. And as my gift to you for watching this video, I'd love to send you the sample pack that I've mentioned earlier, including some of the sounds that we used in this video. The sample pack includes construction kits, loops, one-shots, transition effects, and it's yours absolutely free. Just click the link below in the description box. It's 100% royalty free, so you can use it in your projects and share that music with the rest of the world. And it works in any DAW. Just click, drag, and drop, and you're good to go. So you can click the link below in the description box, or you can visit www.beatacademy.com/pack to download your sample pack today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.